Hi, this is Roger, thanks for dropping by. This is a rescue video and it'll be a quick one because it's a small plant. This one came up in the Sunday chat when I went over my Cattleya types that are mounted, and this plant was discussed as going downhill but did have signs of new growth and hasn't got a totally failed root system. So one person noticed that it's actually on one of these clay mounts, and they chill. They have a cooling effect due to evaporative cooling. You can look it up if you don't know what it means. But yeah, it did dawn on me that although this is having to put up with lower temperatures, in theory it ought to be okay, but not if its roots are getting chilled beyond the cooler temperatures it's prepared to put up with. So I've decided to put it on a bark mount, and with some fresh moss and a bit more moss around the roots, basically. I mean, this is how it arrived. I did say at the time I wasn't too keen on these types of mounts, but it got left there basically, so that's why I didn't want to cut it. Right, so it should come off. I don't think it's attached that well. No, see, it's not. So it's obviously not attaching very well to that, so I assume that's because it doesn't like it. Now, I don't know what moss is in these roots, but whatever it is, it's coming off because it's been there a while. So I'm just going to tease out as much as I can. Around the back here, there's a little sort of wodge of it. Get all that off, and that'll open the roots up to hopefully being able to grow on a bit better. I don't want to do too much because it's not necessary. I mean, the chances are this might not make it, but this will at least give it a chance. We've got quite a large piece of plant here that's dead. I am going to snip that off. Now that will take some roots with it, but it's serving no purpose. It's an old part of the plant that's sort of died back over time. Right, we'll run with that. I am going to trim the roots on the grounds that it'll fit on the mount better. All of the roots will then go in some moss, and it's a branching root system, so it may trigger some root growth. So that's just sort of tidied it up a bit. I'd like to get these sheaths off, but I'd class this plant as fragile, and pulling a sheath might pull the whole piece off. Yeah, we'll not go mad with that idea, I think. Right, so I've got two types of moss here, and some of this moss looks a bit dead, but I'm hoping it will revitalise. It's moss that came from a mount where a plant died a while back, but not that long ago. But obviously that mount has been tucked under there to go down in the shed sometime when I get round to it, and therefore the moss has dried. But I don't think it's dried enough to be dead, so it may come back. And I want some of that because there's quite a deep recess in there which I want filled with moss so that it makes the bark flatter. And then it's just a matter really of getting this in a place where most of the roots are going to be able to get into something. I'm not worried about where the hook is, I can move that. I think I'll run with it like that. The roots that are going upwards are going to get trimmed, and then if they do branch, then hopefully they will get into some moss, and then just lower it down a bit, and there we go. So this moss, effectively, if it is dead, because it was live collected moss once, if it is dead, then it's going to work just like zombie moss, and it's going underneath the plant. and that's all that it's going to get underneath. And all the rest of the moss is the Welsh moss, which, having put it outside and it's got rained on, is growing like mad and is all a lovely bright green. It's absolutely going mad outside at the moment. And I'm just going to put bits of this around the roots. They'll get strapped on in a minute when I get some wire going. So I'm going to wire this on. It's just quicker than messing about with fishing line, quite honestly. And I don't want any of this top moss on the plant. I only want it on and around the roots. I want to keep the plant base dryish if I can. Next door neighbour's come home and he's working outside on the drive. It looks like he's cutting up some board to actually line the rest of his van. He did start doing that before, and I was chatting to him while he was working, and he said, I haven't got enough board, I'm going to have to wait till I can get some more. Well, he's obviously got some more now. The thing is, when you work on the buildings, you often go to a job where stuff's been over-ordered, and it's left over, basically. And most people in the building trade, they haven't got the storage to keep it themselves. So it's just, you know, it'll go in the skip. So obviously if you're after something, it's quite easy to come across things that you want. And then you can, if you've got a van, you can just bring them home. So, right, so I've got the moss where I want it. I've got the plant where I want it. Now all we've got to do is get it all to stay there. I haven't quite got enough fingers, but we'll manage with the fingers we've got. Now, this is very thin wire. Very thin wire, but it's plenty good enough for the job it's got to do, which is really just hold the plant in place and stop the moss falling off. Which it's now done quite nicely. Don't need any pliers or anything, this wire is so thin it just sort of does the job. Tuck that in there, push those in so that they pull tighter, and that's it, done. And I do actually have a label that came off the old mount. Unfortunately it hasn't got a hole in it, but we should be able to remedy that with the scissors. A decent sized hole in there. And then that should just thread on the hook. And you can dangle down the back so that it's there but not visible from the front. I can just dangle down the back like that so that we don't forget what it is, as it is a rather long, elaborate name. And now for the good bit. Guess where that's going? I'll break off and show you. It's going there. So we're in the kitchen windowsill. Now obviously this is a plastic strap that goes with the blind that doesn't belong to me, so I can't mess it up. So I've put a very, very loose loop in it. There's no weight to this mount, it's next to no weight at all. So that loop can just hold that in place. So it's got good light and is now in a much warmer environment than it was before, which hopefully it will think it's spring. Apart from the shorter days, but it might kick it into growth by just getting it that little bit warmer. I mean, in this very cold weather that we're having at the moment, the thermometer in here when I get up in the morning at silly o'clock is down to sort of 15-16 degrees, but that's about as low as it ever gets in here. And obviously with the heating on and cooking and stuff like that, it can get as high as 23, 24. Because it's quite a confined space, the kitchen. I wish the lounge got that warm. I could turn the heating off. Anyway, so that's where it's going to live, and you know, we'll have updates every now and again to see if it actually picks up. It might just keel over. The disturbance might just be too much for it to handle. We shall see. Bye for now. See you next time.